Hey, babe.
Hey.
What are you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Riffin with Griffin! Whoa, 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 whoa! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Riffin with Griffin! Woo! All right, we did it. Yeah, I had to turn it off. It just is what it is. I mean, I am in New York right now, so like I got my computer right here. I'm trying to do this. I'm just trying to do my podcast as best I can. It's. I mean, listen. When you're a one-man show, this is how it goes. But I'm here. Welcome to Riffin with Griffin from. Excuse me. Welcome to Riffin with Griffin from New York City, live from New York City. I got my little mic that I record because you guys didn't even know what's going on, so I had to record this cartoon that I'm doing. It's this HBO Max cartoon called 10-Year-Old Tom. That should be coming to HBO Max sometime next year, I think. I don't even know because of the cartoon process. So I have my mic for that because I had to record from the hotel room. The damn internet in this hotel is terrible. Okay. Oh, speaking of, oh my God, it's going to take me forever to upload upload this podcast as I'm thinking about it right now with this hotel internet. Let me not even think about it right now. So, and then I got this weird light. There's no good lights in the hotel, so I got this weird light. So I got to do the podcast before the light, sun goes down because then I won't even be able to do the podcast. I know it looks the way it looks if you're watching it, but if you're listening, I guess it sounds fine because I still got my Logic set up and all that kind of stuff. So just, excuse me, just trying to make it happen. But I'm here in New York. Let me just tell you all about it. I'm staying in Brooklyn. So, I booked this movie, this Ray Romano movie. He's like the star and he wrote it with his partner and they've been working on it for like 6 years and he's finally making it. So it's like, I'm in it. Sebastian Maniscalco's in it. It's great. So I got the part, flew out to New York. Had to quarantine because I got my second shot. The Sunday, like last Sunday. And so then I had to get here on Tuesday because by the SAG or whatever rules, you have to like quarantine for 4 days in your hotel before you could start working. So I came and I did that. And so, here I am. I keep looking over at the computer because I don't know what is happening. I don't know if this is going to work right, but we're going to make the best of this. We're going to do what we need to do. Okay. So anyways, all right, I'm looking, everything seems to be fine. So yeah, so you have to quarantine for 4 days and whatnot. And so here we are. So I get to New York, okay, whatever. So I just want to tell you some things that have happened. It's just great experience. So I'm just going to like relay what has been going on because this podcast is about me, I guess, right? You got the few of you that like to listen every week. I appreciate you. And so here we are. By the way, I even tried to stream. So I brought my Xbox, you know what I mean? I don't got my good camera, so I'm using my little webcam camera to do this right now. But I just want to keep, I feel like I have a responsibility to put out my podcast regardless of whatever. And it's just hard to do all this by yourself when you travel. You have to rely on the hotel internet and all that kind of stuff. So, but I brought my Xbox to stream and I'm still trying to stream daily on Erik Griffin Gaming. So check that out on Twitch. So anyways, so I get to New York. So I'm quarantining for 4 days. Oh man, it's terrible. It's hard to be like, when you feel you're not at home. It's just about not being at home. And this hotel is nice, but it's still just one room. And it's like got this like cement floor. It's like one of these artsy fartsy hotels. It's like I don't like staying at artsy fartsy hotels, like boutique-y. I want to stay someplace. If I'm here for 2 weeks, it should have a refrigerator that's empty. I don't need a mini bar. What I'm going to be drinking every day? I don't even drink. Refrigerator that's empty. It should have a microwave in there. for an extended stay type place. The hotel in the restaurant in this hotel, super expensive. Everything's like $30. Okay. So it's like, damn, whatever little money I'm making on this movie, I got to spend it on the food to be here. But anyways, so I'm making the best of it, trying to talk to Rachel every day. You know, I'm catching up on shows and stuff like that. So, you know, that is what it is. But let me just tell you something that happened last night. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm coughing so much. Stupid. So, you know, I'm just randomly, and I get this phone call, you know, and I don't answer because it said no ID. And funny sidetrack story on that. My buddy Gerard Carmichael, you know, I don't know if you guys know Gerard Carmichael. He's like this great young comic producer, writer, director. He's just like one of those it guys, you know. He's like one of the Hollywood it guys. He was young. They pegged him. Now he's got HBO shows. He's produced movies. He produces shows for people. He's just one of these insider Hollywood guys. He hangs out with Jay-Z. You know what I mean? He's like, he has like this fabulous life of Gerard Carmichael should be the documentary, but he would never do a documentary because he's too damn pretentious to do a documentary, right? So I love him though. He's just like one of my best friends. Okay. But anyways, he calls and it's caller ID block now. You know what I mean? He's the kind of guy, he changes his number like all the time. He don't want people to have his number, right? So he'll change his number, but he has the ID block no matter who he calls. So I didn't answer the call. I don't like answering no ID calls. And then he says to me, he goes, hey man, when he finally gets me on the phone, he's like, you got to answer the phone when you see no ID. You don't know who it is. It could be Oprah for all you know. I'm like, Oprah ain't calling me, but that's his life. Because that's his life is, you know, he said to me, well, Jay-Z called me. And I didn't know. I didn't know till I saw him a month later and he was like, yo, man, I tried to call you. So he's telling me like, you got to answer the phone when there's no ID because you never know who was calling you. But I'm like, that's not going to happen to me, right? I think. I go, that ain't going to happen to me. You know, so for you the young it kid, you know, you live in a fabulous life. Nobody going to be calling me like that. Well, sure enough, Ray Romano calls me. It's no ID. I don't answer. Then I get a text message. Hey, you know, he's directing the movie, so I expect to like talk to him, but it still was like shocking. So he calls me. I don't answer, you know, and then he gives me like the call. I see the text message. He goes, hey, this is Ray Romano, Eric. Give me a call back. I'm like, oh shit. I'm streaming at the time and I go, I gotta go, you know, because listen, for me, this is like a huge honor, even just to be in this movie. For them to pick me for the movie, I was like, okay, great. But even still, it's like, you know, I'm a comic that came up in the era where these type of comedy icons were huge. This is what TV shows were made of. They don't even do it anymore, where they take like a comic who's been around, you know, he has this solid act about his life and they turn it into a sitcom, you know? They just don't do that anymore. But it was like Kevin James, Ray Romano, Tim Allen, Seinfeld. These were the people they did that for. And that was like, so when I was coming up, that was always going to be my dream. I saw I'd have the show or I was, because you follow these guys. So anyway, for me, it's a huge honor. And I'm really excited to like, you know, so I call him, he answers, and he's, you know, and his voice is so distinct. It was just like, I was geeking out. I didn't even want to tell him. I'm geeking out because I'm like, oh, damn, this is actually Ray Romano on my phone. This Everybody Loves Raymond. I hear his voice, you know, it was really like a moment for me. So then, you know, he says, thanks for being in the movie. He tells me a little bit about what we're going to do for this crazy part I'm playing. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, I'm like, whatever you want, bro. So, and then he goes, listen, my writer and then the guy that's playing my best friend, they're in the hotel with you. Also, they're about to get ready, get in the car, come get me to come to the city, and we're gonna go get some pizza. You want to come? I'm like, yo, you want to hang out? Yeah, bro. You know, this is in my head. I'm thinking, so you know, trying to be cool, like, well, you know, I guess, you know, I'm just sitting here, you know. Trying to play it off right, but I'm like, yeah, I'm already grabbing my clothes while I'm talking to him on the phone, thinking like, you know, and then I was like, oh, thank God I brought my good shirt. So I had this one shirt to bring because I was like, you never know when you go out. So I was like, let me get my good shirt. So I even tell Rachel, I hit her up like, oh my God, you'll never guess what's happening. And I'm so glad I got my good shirt. So I get my shirt, you know, and then we actually get out there. He gets in the car with us later. We park and then we start walking to this pizza place. But he's just like just straight up normal dude, And so then he just starts talking to me. You know what I mean? And it's just like I was like, all right, like I'd known him forever. And we went to this great pizza place. I think it was called Joey's. There's probably like 100 Joey's in New York. And he was like, this is the best pizza in New York. It's world famous, this kind of thing. You always hear this. Like, sometimes I get sick of hearing about New York pizza, like how good it is. Because I've had so many times I've come to New York and I've been like, this pizza's all right. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all right. Like, there's like, what's the difference? And then people say, well, it's the New York water when they make the bread dough and like just all kinds of nonsense. And just as a person I've world traveled, I've been all over the world. Okay. And if you brought me pizza from all the different places I've been, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's the one. I think it just depends on the place, right? To their credit, this pizza was actually really good. It was really good. So we had pizza and then we're just shooting the shit, talking about stuff. And then afterwards, oh, by the way, he says, hey, then we're going to go down to Caroline's. Now, like, I've never performed at Caroline's. I've met the lady that books it many times, and she's like the Mitzi of the East Coast, okay? Everybody knows her. The Caroline's is the Comedy Store of the East Coast, and the Comedy Store is the Caroline's of the West Coast. It's that kind of thing. It's two like iconic places for comedy. I've never performed there before. I've tried to get in, and it's like I remember meeting her. I was in New York one time, and I was chilling with my buddy Godfrey, and we went over to Caroline's, and we're just chilling, and we're sitting with her, and we're talking, and I wasn't trying to like whatever, and I just think that I was just being chill and cool, and she was like, all right, why don't you text me, and he sent me an email, so then I was going to New York to do something else, and I tried to email her, nothing. What's your credits, And I was like, oh no, I hate that question. So, but I sent the thing, didn't hear from her, nothing. So I was like, I guess I just won't be in at Caroline's, right? So cut to now, I'm walking in with Ray Romano, who started at Caroline's, right? And it's like, you feel like you're a part of a mob, like you're walking in with John Gotti, and like everybody's like, it's that kind of thing, like that scene from Goodfellas where Ray Liotta walks in and he's, he put a table right here. They just put a table like everybody else has to move out of the way because, that's how I felt. People just walking in, we walking in with them, And listen, I'm not famous. I don't think I'm famous at all. But in the comedy world, I think I'm famous enough. If you're in the comedy scene, that if you saw me, you'd be like, oh, that's that dude, You know what I mean? Like in the comedy scene, it's like workaholics, especially I'm dying up here. I just booked that pilot. That's the kind of thing comedy people are like, oh, that's that dude. I was in Murder Mystery. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you in the comedy scene, I think I'm recognizable enough to the comedian world where you like, oh, that's Erik Griffin, or that's the dude from whatever you want to say, right? So the door guy, and I see the recognition on people's faces, like, oh, okay, he hanging out with Ray Romano. All right, that's that, whatever, So then we're gonna get spots, and Ray's like, yeah, can Erik go up, So then we see the lady, Etsy is her name, and she's like so excited to see Ray, and oh my God, And then he looks over to me, he goes, yeah, this is Erik Griffin, And she's like, huh? And then I put my mask down, nobody was really wearing a mask at this point, But, some people were, she's like, oh yeah, I know she didn't know who the hell I was. It was just one of those moments, man. She didn't know who the hell I was, but she was like, oh yeah, oh, good to see you. Gives me a little half hug, and I'm just like, hilarious. You know what I mean? But I get it. I'm not mad about it. It's just, it was just one of those moments where, you have to wait. You wait for these kind of moments. You know what I mean? You wait for these kind of moments. Like, it's like you get in on your own merits, you get it like however you think the right way to do it. But in a roundabout way, I had to bust my ass for like 18 years now to get into a position where a guy like Ray Romano is walking me in. I'm not a guy off the street. I'm funny enough to be in that club. You know what I mean? I don't care if you agree or not, actually. I'm telling you, I'm funny enough to be in that club. You know what I'm saying? Like I've earned my stripes in this damn business. So, but through all that roundabout way, it still had to be done like this. But I earned my right to be standing with him in the first place, to be walking in. So it's like a weird, like the brotherhood of comedians is in the how it all works is really strange. You know, it's a strange, but like I get it. So, you know, then we go and we do sets. You know what I mean? I go up and do a set. I see my boy Dean Edwards is there, and we actually we're bumping him, and I'm already feeling uncomfortable because I know Ray Romano's walking in and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go next, you know, and I hate that, by the way. It's like, you know, you coming, just call and be like, put him on the list. But I get it. After 30 years, you've earned the right to do that, and I'm with him, so by default, you know, I'm coming in. But she asked Dean. You know, he told me this later. Hey, is it okay? You know, and he was like, cool. And then when he saw me, we go back. So I think he was like, all right, that's my boy Erik. So I'm cool with this. It's not a slight on him. And so I do my first set at Caroline's. I was a little nervous, but I thought it went. And I haven't performed enough, you know, comedy because of quarantine, because of COVID. But I still think I did my thing. And, you know, when the guy announced to me, oh, Erik Griffin, there's a lot of people in the crowd that were like, oh, it's just, you know, and I'm like, all right, yeah. Did my set. It was cool. So then he's telling me later that he does his set. He's funny. We go to another room. He does his set, and he's still got it. He's just a funny dude, man, Ray Romano, you know, and his daughter's in the crowd. You know what I mean? So we do that. And then, you know, so then he's talking about, well, we should come on the weekend because we're going to be here for 2 weeks, you know. And I say to him, well, this is what I say to him. I go, how about we tell her we're going to come so she could put us on the list so we're not bumping anybody, you know? Like I say that to him and he's like, you know, all right, good idea. You know, so he says to the lady, we want to come on the weekend. And she's like, well, can you tell me right now? Because she makes the list and it's like a really, you know what I mean? So then I'm communicating with her now because she's like, I need to put you in our database and boom, boom, boom. So I was like, oh shit, does that mean I'm in? I don't know. But like, we're going to perform on Saturday and he might cancel, but I'm still going to go. Right. I mean, because I just feel like, yeah, be in at this iconic club. You know what I mean? Don't burn any bridges, you know? So, but let me go back. So like, you know, when we were talking, just what I'm saying about Ray Romano, he's such a, I mean, there's like an old school vibe that these guys that started 30 years ago, that some of them have, that you can't. So he's telling me about how he does stand-up now. And he's like, yeah, well, he usually does the Mirage. Like how he does stand-up and how I do stand-up is completely different. His stand-up is an event. Like he's in Vegas at the Mirage and people are actually flying to Vegas. Like they're tailgating. Like, let me go see Ray Romano. Yeah, let's go to Vegas and go watch Ray Romano. You know, or even people that are in Vegas are like, oh man, Ray Romano's here. Let's go pay that $75 ticket or however much it is. You know, so they go, you know, so he's telling me about it. He goes, you know, he's like, yeah, it's great. You know, we go in on a Thursday. He's like, I golf, I do this, I do that, you know, and then like, you know, after the show, and then he has this moment where he doesn't want to say, like he's being super humble and casual about it, but he's like, you know, and then we like, you know, we fly home on a private jet. Just the way he said it, I said, dude, don't apologize. Cause you know what I mean? Don't apologize because you're flying home on a private jet. You know, it's just like, don't feel bad about it. It was just a little thing. I was like, don't feel bad. You busted your ass for 30 years to be an iconic comedian personality so you could fly private. You know what I mean? Like, I totally get it. It just was like a cool moment for, you know, but I really felt the camaraderie and he took to me and this old school buddy that's playing his best friend in the movies there. And he was actually on a dine up here. What is that guy's name? Listen, I'm not gonna, whatever. Okay. Cool dude, but he's old, crotchety, you know, and they started together. Like he actually put Ray on. He actually got Ray in at the club back 30 years ago. You know, that kind of deal. He's that kind of guy. So he's just like, you know, cool ass dude. But there was this sort of comedian camaraderie. And I knew exactly what it was. And it is a brotherhood that I can't explain, and I'm going to attempt to. You know, when you're a comedian like this, so, you know, I really felt like Ray took to me, you know what I mean? Like like in a sense of like, he was like, he talked about comedy. He was, interested in like things. And we had this sort of thing where it's like, and where does that come from? I just think it comes from like, when you have that shared experience of like the struggle of comedy or knowing the things you have to do to get to a certain level, all comedians share that. And of course, the ones that are on a higher level, they share an experience with each other too. I'm sure when Chappelle and Chris Rock and these kind of guys are hanging out, they got a shared experience of like what it took to be that iconic, but they have that. And they can be around people who are lesser than them in terms of their comedic stature, because they know even what it took to get to that point. And there is this sort of camaraderie, I've seen it when Chris Rock is around the Comedy Store, my brief interactions with him, he still has, even though he's an odd dude, he still got that. There's that thing. Now, the problem is it's not everybody. Like too many comics that are just coming up, they think because they've labeled themselves a comic that they understand, and they think they're like, they think that, well, listen, I'm an intern. Like, no. It's like if someone told me, like back in the day, if it was like, yeah, I'm passed at the Comedy Store. If somebody told me that, and I didn't even know them per se yet, let's say, or I hadn't been around, let's say I was off in Australia filming a movie for a year. I don't even, whatever, I'm just saying. And somebody says to me, oh yeah, man, I just got passed at the Comedy Store. Back in the day, you know what it took to do that. You know all the steps you had to take. You know how tough that was, the road to travel to get to the point where you were considered a regular at that club. So that's a shared experience. And that brotherhood, that's where the brotherhood is, And it's like, it's not about necessarily success level so much as like understanding that process it took to get to that point in the business. So even now, people are like, I got on a show, or, and it's not, you've seen this person around for a long time, and they're like, you know what it takes. It's like all the auditioning and the testing process and getting an agent and all that stuff. Sometimes, that's the brotherhood of just recognizing the struggle and achieving that, overcoming that, and then also like, if somebody watches you and they think you're funny, or they appreciate your art form, it's like, oh, I like how you constructed this or that, it's that it takes time. It's time to be a part of that, truly be a part of that brotherhood. And then to me, there's just too many people who are like just starting out. And even if they think they have a little bit of success, they think that they're entitled to that same level of understanding and respect from people. And it just, I don't know. It just doesn't work. There's no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong steps, but it's a thing you just know. I wish I can express it better. I wish I was able to explain to you guys how I feel about this, but it's just, man, I don't know. Hey guys, I want to talk to you guys once again about my great sponsor, BetterHelp. And you can go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/Griffin. BetterHelp.com/Griffin. Great sponsor of the show. And it's one of my favorite sponsors just because, I do real world advice from a grown ass man. And I often say, hey, I'm not an expert. So I encourage people to go get help and get some therapy. And this is it. Because there's many things that interfere with our happiness, and many things that interfere with making sure that we're living our best life and our best selves. And, come on, in this day and age with COVID and job worries and money worries and relationship worries, you need some help. So I encourage you to reach out. You connect in a safe and private environment. It's really super convenient. You can start communicating with someone in under 48 hours. I myself have gone to therapy and I loved it. It was uncomfortable, but it helped me organize my thoughts and really pinpoint like, oh, this is why for me, it was boundary issues, letting people take advantage of me. And I really went and talked about it and worked through it, and I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. But they have licensed professional counselors who are specializing in all the things you can think of, guys. Depression, depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, LGBT matters, self-esteem, family conflicts, anything you could think of. Please, guys, it's confidential. It's not self-help. These are licensed professionals. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. So you got to be a part of this. I want you to start living a happier life today. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor, betterhelp.com/Griffin. And that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, betterhelp.com/Griffin. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. And that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Griffin for 10% off your first month. I appreciate you guys being here. Take charge of your happiness. Let's get back to this. And I remember when I was doing Dying Up Here, and I remember meeting Jim Carrey, who is like the oddest dude. He's just an odd guy, man. So odd. Because it's like, think of being that famous for that long, that wealthy. I don't even know if you even interact with regular people anymore. And then he had that big beard, and he just was like dealing with a court case and all that stuff that was going on in his life. He just was a weird dude, but he was here. But he knew that to get this show off the ground for the publicity, he was going to have to be at front and center. Like, we went to the upfronts, and the upfronts are a place where it's like a big press junket where you're there, you're on a panel, and they're asking you questions about the show, and all the press outlets from around the world or whoever's interested in this stuff for the cable upfronts, they're going to be like, so what do you think about comedy and, doing comedy in the 70s? Is it different from that? So all these questions. But you have Jim Carrey sitting up there. Every single question was directed at him. I think I answered one question, and then after that, it was just, so Jim. So he was right there with it, But I remember this moment. But we had this dinner, and he was talking to us about the Comedy Store back in the days, and he just was going in, and it was just fascinating to hear all the stories about Kinnison and how he started, and he just loved it. I could just tell he was just reminiscing, and he was talking to people, especially the comics, me, Santino, Al Madrigal. We were comics who were at the Comedy Store. So, like, for us, hearing this history, we understood, and I think he was understood that too. So anyways, my point is, so we're at the Ice House, and we're doing this like party for I'm Dying Up Here. And I remember this moment, and I think I've even told this story, but whatever, it's pertinent to this. The press are kind of bugging him. People are like on him. And I look over to him and I say, Jim, come over here, man. And he comes over to us, and it's me, Al Magical, Santino. It's just the comics and some of the actors, And when he came over, and I can really see him like be comfortable, because it's like, well, we're just doing the comic thing outside a comedy club, and he's like, I don't think he's done that in so many years, but it just felt like, yeah. So he stepped in, even though he's like an icon, you know what I mean, like just a giant in the comedy world. He came with us, and it was like, I feel like he felt comfortable with us. He felt at ease, but he didn't have to be around these people that were always asking him for things. Because at that level, you can't trust anyone, even us, really, But there's still that brotherhood connection. And I think he felt, and I felt it in that moment. I really did. I really felt it. And we took this great picture at that moment, too, and our heads were side to side. It's on my Instagram someplace. I mean, this is the point where I would put it up, but like, I'm doing this by myself, so sorry. You go check my Instagram. And that's at Erik Griffin, and you'll see, go scroll way down, and you'll see this picture of me and Jim Carrey like head to head, And it wasn't until later that I looked at that picture and I thought to myself, oh man, that's Jim Carrey, like that's Jim Carrey and I having like a real intimate moment, and he, and he's just, I don't know. And it's just my perspective. You talk to him and he might be like, these idiots, who knows, but I don't care. I believe in foo-foo stuff, and I believe that there was some sort of brotherhood connection there. And again, I feel the same way last night, hanging out with Ray and going to the Comedy Store. I mean the Comedy Cellar, just having this like real like moment, So I don't know, guys. Damn, that was dope. It just was like, I'm still like thinking about it. Like, that was real cool to go to. Because even people that we started with, they move on. Like Sebastian, I'm gonna try to see if I can get Sebastian to come on the podcast this week so we could be on my next week's episode. But who knows? I mean, but he's super rich now. He's like one of those guys now. He's in the 1 percentile of the comedian world now. And even though I knew him when we were just doing like shitty gigs and, terrible travel gigs overseas, you know what I mean? And now he's just like, I barely talk to him, I don't even, you know what I mean? But it's like, but there's that thing. So I don't even know how that's going to be, but it's just that kind of thing, man. It's like, you're in this Olympic race with all your comedian buddies and, you're racing against the clock, are you racing against each other? You're not really competing with each other, but there is like a level that, there's a lot of comics who they've been on shows. Maybe they even had a special. They travel, they're doing good stuff. But then there is that thing that propels people forward and they become a part of this different echelon. And then podcasting is taking people, launched people further where they have this huge following and they're doing all this stuff and you're looking at them like how we used to look at Seinfeld and these guys that were doing TV shows. Now these big podcast people are doing that too. Look what it's done for people's career, like Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura and Theo Vaughn, these people that are now, they've made themselves so they have their own little universe, and so I really hope that the internet and how separated everybody is doesn't really dilute that brotherhood more than it already is. Because now that I think about it, sometimes I feel like that's happened. I feel like people aren't as connected anymore. They're just all in their little fame bubble. We're not going to clubs and, and I totally get why people don't go to clubs anymore. I totally get why you don't see, because you want to spend time with your family. Or this is just not as important. Like you see that, when you go down to the club to do your 15-minute set at the Comedy Store and that hallway is full of people hungry, people trying to fight to the top. I mean, it's like when you're already in your career and you're doing things, that sort of becomes not as important anymore because you're doing road gigs. So if you want to work on a set, do you have to do it at that place for that 15 minutes? No. You could do it I have to do an hour. So 15 minutes of that hour I'm going to do is going to be me working on new material. And the other 45 minutes is going to be the show for the people that paid. That's a different way to do it. And then during the week, you spend time with your kids, your family, your loved ones, organize yourself for the things that are important. I'm starting to feel like that after this pandemic. I'm starting to feel like, what's important to me? Do I need to go do comedy every night in LA? Or do I want to sit on the couch with Rachel? Or do I want to be at home and just experience that, So I don't know, I don't know when this is all over, how I'm going to feel, I don't know how I'm going to feel. So I guess what else? I feel like I'm just rambling in my hotel room. But whatever, this is my podcast. This is how I do it. Man, I do want to talk about this, though. I hate, it's once again, some COVID news. It's like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. This is so, I feel like they're canceling the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I really believe it's an overreaction. Now, listen, that being said, you don't want anyone to die, okay? But there's so many people who are afraid of vaccines that they're coming out and they're like, see, I knew it. So I was like, okay, well, how many people, damn, Johnson & Johnson vaccine is taking people out, huh? What was it like? How many people died? Did 10,000 people die? Is it 100,000 people with some sort of symptoms? What happened? So you come to find out 6 out of 7 million people, 6, again, condolences to those 6, their families. It's a tragedy. But it doesn't mean that this vaccine should be shut down. I mean, it's It's a medication. This ain't vitamin C. It's not B12. You know, this is a medication that's concocted in a lab. There's going to be some stuff. Just like peanuts. Peanuts is something that happens in nature. I don't even know. Are peanuts real or they're manufactured? You know, but either way, my point is there's plenty of people with peanut allergies. There's people who are allergic to insulin. There's people who are allergic to latex. The human body is a wondrous machine and not everything's going to work with it. But if the odds are 6 out of 7 million, I don't know if that's enough for the panic that everybody feels. I see my buddy Jamie Kennedy tweeted. He's one of those skeptic type guys. He's like, you know, he want to let me see what's going on with the vaccine. So now he's, you know, he tweeted this funny thing about like, yeah, so all the people that shamed me for not taking the vaccine, I'll accept your apology, something like that, right? But I'm thinking to myself, bro, 6 out of 7 million. I believe that thing is pretty safe, you know? I mean, I know someone personal to me has taken the Johnson & Johnson. So, you know, because of all the media hoopla about it, got me a little bit like, oh shit, should I be worried about this? You know, like I'm worried for my loved one. I'm like, oh no. And then I had to like shake it off and be like, 6 out of 7 million. I think the way it's being covered, I think the misinformation about COVID from the beginning has just caused people to like just go cuckoo, man. We are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right now when it comes to COVID. Cuckoo for COVID, man. The CDC is putting out stuff. I saw a thing in CDC. Like how COVID is supposed to be on surfaces. They're saying, yeah, 1 out of 10,000. That's a thing. They made it seem like in the beginning, they're reporting news like it was on cardboard on your Amazon packages. So you got to be careful. I had buddies of mine talk about, I leave my packages outside for 3 days. And it's like, that's some weird misinformation. Who even knows if any of it's true? I mean, all the things that the CDC is coming out with now that they couldn't come out with before, maybe because Trump was in office, or I don't know. Like everything is politicized right now, so you don't even know what to believe. But the information they're coming out with about, you know, it's like over 65%. It's like 65% of the people who died from COVID, obesity played a huge factor in it. Why aren't we talking about that? I mean, so again, you don't know what to believe. We can't get information that we trust. I think you idiots out there, not you, but you know what I'm talking about when I say you, who think they're COVID experts, especially in the comments. These people are supposedly COVID experts, so they want to say, well, that's that, you know. It's like, I think it's going to come out and we're going to find out like a lot of the things that we've been doing were completely wrong or it didn't have to be done in the way that we did it. And so, but we're never going to know. It's like too late, you know? But anyway, I'm just saying like, guys, like, let's calm down. I wish we could just calm down, use some common sense, take the politics out of it and just get some medical facts. And that's the stuff they should be spreading. This fear mongering about everything is just terrible, man. It's terrible. I mean, a lot of people need the vaccine. And you know, by the way, I don't even know if that's true. I shouldn't even say that because who even knows at this point right now? But because then you find out the Pfizer, you know, because I took the Pfizer vaccine. I had my two shots. Now they're talking about, well, you might have to take it every year. I was like, what? Now what? Man, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you start going down a black hole thinking about that. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Man, it's just try to get it as informed as possible. I like watching Bill Maher's show, even though he gets in trouble all the time. I mean, anytime somebody is open to both sides of an argument anytime somebody gives voice to the other side, per se, quote unquote, the other side, those people get criticized. And I like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's the kind of guy, he gives voice to like people that have a different opinion than like, especially the liberal side, the progressive liberal, you know, these are the people that think they're for people, even though they come, it's like, just like Christians who hate gays, it seems to be counterproductive. It seems to be against what you believe in. If you believe that, you know, everything's about love and God loves us all and all these things, and then you want to hate people, you're not being real to yourself. That's a lot of liberals are like that when it comes to like what they think they're for people, but you know, but only when they agree with that. So Joe Rogan's the type of guy, he puts people on his podcast, but the other side is like, oh, I can't believe you're giving voice to this other side. It's like, okay, what? So Bill Maher's like that too, you know? So he gets in, so then his voice gets muted because, you know, people think, oh, well, he gave voice to such and such, or he's criticizing the liberals. So once you criticize liberals, now you're the devil, you know? But I love watching his show because, you know, he has a lot of, you know, he puts good information out there, you know, just about like he had this thing about the liberal media, you know, the media itself, 90% of it is negative news. It's like, what? Like, can you give us some hope? Talking about how the governor of Florida is into science, that he was into reading about COVID and the research, and he did research about it, that he wanted to know the science. And so that's why he was really strict about taking care of the elderly in Florida. My girl's grandma lives in Florida, and they had strict, like she was locked down in her facility that she was in her, you know, independent living elderly home for elderly people. You know, they were really strict because the governor there was like, no, this is affecting older people, so we have to make sure they're okay. You know, I mean, but because he's Republican, you know, all the, you know, the liberal, oh, well, he's terrible, he's doing everything wrong. But now you look at what's happening, maybe he wasn't doing everything wrong. You know, maybe maybe some of the things he was doing and some of the things say California was doing, maybe they should have communicated with each other and figured out a better plan for all of us. So I don't know. Once it's politicized, then it becomes like you versus them. You know, so, you know, eventually, hopefully, history will be able to look back and be like, ooh, I wish we didn't do this right. I feel like we're going to say that anyway. I feel like in 10 years, we're going to look back and all the reports are going to come out. When all the politics is away from it, people are going to be like, ooh, we messed that up. But we're living through it. We're trying to live through it. Let me see where I'm at. All right. Well, we're almost coming to an end here. Well, you know what I got to finish off with? Falcon and the Winter Soldier, my weekly update. Spoiler alert at this point. So now you can just stop the podcast if you want, you know, because if you haven't watched episode 5, so spoiler alert, but it was so good. Like this, and this is just me, you know, like I think that there was a good percentage of sort of social issues in this episode, but I thought it served the story. So there's this old black super soldier that they had in jail and they experimented on him. And then they had this idea about, you know, the Falcon, Sam, you know, how Steve Rogers gave him the shield, and could there be a black man as Captain America? And it sort of was, you know, dealing with those issues and how, you know, it's that same old thing that sometimes you get tired of hearing about. And so I know that there could be people out there who are like watching this episode like, here we go. It's black people complaining about stuff. You know, you know what? That's fair. And I can see how you might feel that way. But me personally, because I feel that way too. Like sometimes when I watch things, I go, oh, can I just be entertained? I just want to be entertained. Sometimes I don't want to, like, not everything has to be woke. You know what I mean? And I think that that's a fair feeling. Like I want to escape from wokeness. And there's the other side of people who feel like, well, that's why it still continues. And if we don't bang the drum, okay, so I feel you. But I'm one of these people, I feel like I'm woke enough. I feel like I understand. I can have empathy and also want to like take a break, you know? But some people feel like there should be no breaks. So I get both sides of that. But this episode, I felt like, to me, it was a good portion because it served the story. But it's just really good, the dramatic part of it. And Anthony Mackie, I believe is his name, the guy that plays the Falcon, this dude's in everything. Man, you go on Netflix, he must be in like 10 Netflix projects. Good for him. The only thing I wish he would do is change his look. Cause like he has such a distinct look that he's always that. So every time you see him, it's that. So like he don't change his hair. You know what I mean? He don't change his like mannerisms. It's like he is Anthony Mackie. Oh, that's his name, right? Yeah. You know, he's always that. So sometimes I wish he would change it up. Get an afro. Do something, you know what I mean? But he works a lot, but he is great. He's just the moral compass in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He just, you know what I mean? We're following him and we're seeing him like having to make these choices about who's right and who's wrong. And once again, Sebastian Stan is just playing just what he's doing as the Winter Soldier is just great. Like, it's such a great redemption story. He's like the Darth Vader of this story. You know, he was this evil, menacing, murderous character. He killed Tony Stark's parents, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Even though he was being controlled, and it's like, still, that's the thing. That's how they let him off the hook, where it's like, it wasn't really him. And he's kind of an asshole. And now he's got this soft, sweet side, and he's just doing an amazing job portraying what's going on. So, you know, I think the show's coming to a hilt. And then, you know, the guy that's playing like this Captain America, you know, so he like now he's the villain, you know, like, but he always had villain face, you know what I mean? So, but now he's going to be the villain. And then they brought in, what's her face from Seinfeld, you know, Louise Dreyfus, what's her name? Oh my God. Elaine from Seinfeld. She's such a great actress. And she comes into place, it's like seedy boss character. And she comes in and she's trying to recruit, you know, the old Captain America, this new Captain America guy, you know, because he's a super soldier. And, you know, and of course, you know, that's one of those great moral dilemmas because he killed a guy that killed his friend. And so there are people who feel like eye for an eye. So there's people that would look at that and be like, yeah, that guy had to die. He killed his friend. And he went to the parents like, I got justice for your kid. But then there's the other side of it too, where people are like, dude, you're supposed to be Captain America. You're supposed to be above reproach. You're supposed to be, you know, a guy that wouldn't make that choice. He would make the hard choice. He wouldn't go with his impulses and do something like that. He would take that guy to justice. That's what we want Captain America to stand for. And he broke that oath, you know? It's, oh man. And then it's like, it just brings to light the corruption of government because, and how we don't trust the government. And in our entertainment, we perpetuate that feeling because, you know, it's like you go back. I remember when I was a boy and I first saw Superman with Christopher Reeves. And I remember he said in the movie, you know, well, what do you know, Lois Lane's interviewing Superman. And she's like, what do you stand for? And he was like, truth, justice, and the American way. And I remember everybody in the theater was like, yeah. And it meant something back then. The American way meant something. And it meant those things, truth, justice for all, equality. It meant these things, right? Cut to now, they made Superman again, and they took that out. Because now, what is the American way? What do people think that is? What do people think that means? Does it mean corruption now? Does it mean, you know, inequality? Does it mean sexism, racism? Does it mean like only the rich? You know, so we have lost our way. We've lost our way. We've lost the understanding of who we are. Are we good people? In all of our movies, everything in the movies now, it perpetuates this idea that we can't trust the government, that being in the United States doesn't mean something good anymore. And I wish we could get back to finding our way, finding out who we are and what kind of people do we want to be? What kind of nation do we want to be? Do we want to be equal? Do we want to love everyone? Do we want to make sure our women are being taken care of and supported and held up high? That all races and people of different genders and people of different sexual orientations, do we want to make sure everyone is like looked after and accounted for? Does America stand for that anymore? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. So if you have some feelings about that, let me know, because I feel like we're like divided. And anyway, I'm just saying, I feel like we don't have the same rah-rah feeling, and I feel like we should. I feel like we are still a great nation. We got some issues and some problems, but damn, I wouldn't want to be anyplace else. You wouldn't want to be anyplace else. So hopefully we can get back to what's right. But anyways, I think that's, man, I really went in right here on my episode. So guys, thanks for listening to Riffin with Griffin. Thanks for watching. Sorry about the quality. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm here in a hotel trying to make this happen for y'all. So make sure you share, subscribe, check me out, Erik Griffin Gaming. And again, keep your fingers crossed that my show Bucktown gets picked up. And, I'll keep you posted. Next week, I'll still be in New York. So I'll do another episode from New York. Hopefully I can snag one of these guys to be a guest. And, we'll see what we can do. And I appreciate you guys being here and supporting. And I will see you next week.